Do.
All right, let's check out today's team goals brought to you by NerdWallet. The Lakers can lock up a top 6 seed in the Western Conference, but will need a little bit of help. They need to win against the Pelicans, and the Trailblazers have to lose against the Nuggets. Meanwhile, the Clippers, who lost to the Rockets on Friday, they face the Thunder tonight. Because of the current seedings and scenarios, the Lakers and Clippers are likely not going to play until the conference finals. Meanwhile, as for those Nuggets, they could potentially play the Lakers in the first round. Now, there's a lot to unpack with the standings, so we'll welcome in our professor of the playoffs and the play-in tournament, Kurt Goldsberry. Give us the West.
That's right, Maria. There is a lot still up in the air, and you mentioned the Nuggets. They have a big game at Portland tonight, and they might not want to win that game. That's an interesting thing to watch. If the Nuggets win, they likely would play the Lakers. That's why we think the Blazers will win, and this would be the most likely scenario after the games today. The Nuggets lose, that means the Blazers are 6th, and look at this, the Lakers would be in the play-in. The other big game in San Francisco, if the Warriors hold serve at home tonight, they will get 8, and then this would be our play-in scenario. Here we have the Lakers, Warriors, this week in that first play-in game. How about that? Grizzlies, Spurs. If this just goes chalk, the Warriors would get 8. The Lakers would get 7. And man, look at these matchups in the Western Conference. Jazz, Warriors, Suns rewarded for that great season with the first round matchup against LeBron James and the Lakers.
Oh, that looks too good to be true, honestly, when you're looking at that potential Western Conference bracket. Now, remember, we do have a doubleheader today, and in the second game, look for the Grizzlies to crash the glass. They lead the NBA in second chance points per game, while the Warriors allow the 4th most this season. But of course, Golden State has Steph, who is averaging the 3-pointers the most in a season in NBA history, and obviously the 8 seed is on the line for the Grizzlies and the Warriors. But I want to go back to what Kirk was talking about with the Nuggets, and obviously sitting there now, you could be playing the Mavericks, but if you win and you move up, then you have a chance to be playing the Lakers. They can decide where the Lakers land. They can decide where the Trailblazers land. I mean, what approach should they have going into the last day of the regular season?
Well, Kirk said it exactly right. This is a Portland team that is motivated to win today, and this is a Denver team that on paper, and you look at how it breaks down, there is not great motivation to win this game. I'm told to expect Denver to limit the minutes of their key players today. You're not going to see their key guys on the floor throughout the game. Nikola Jokic is interesting, though. Today will mark, he will achieve his goal of having played in every game this season. That was important to him. His minutes are expected to be lower too, but he loves to play. He loves to compete. So, don't rule out Jokic just going to check himself back into a game later. But I think the plan is for Denver to be really careful with their guys, get some rest, and head to the playoffs, and would put Portland in good position.
And if players and coaches tell you that they don't jockey for position or pay attention to who they're playing, that's like somebody on Wall Street telling you they don't pay attention to the stock market. Like they do. Mm-hmm. It's their job to know. And if you're the Denver Nuggets, what you should know today is that we don't want to play the Lakers in the first round. Mm-hmm. So you go to the Joker and you say, hey, I'll give you the first half, big fella. You give me 20 to 24 minutes, but I also want to keep you healthy so we can practice these next handful of days and get ready for the playoffs.
We've seen so much jockeying in the last week of teams trying to avoid the Lakers in the West. And the fact that the Lakers are in that play-in scenario has changed how teams. Not only do you have tanking teams tanking in the NBA, right, you've had playoff teams tanking. And that's been one of, I think, of the unintended consequences of this play-in tournament, but also not having the Lakers at the 1 or 2 like you would have normally expected, being down in that 6-7 range.
But the ultimate intended consequence from this play-in is we're going to get a chance to celebrate the top seeds when the playoffs start. So we'll talk about the Suns and the Jazz and the Clippers then. We'll talk about the Nets and the Sixers and then. But now we're focused on the lower part of the bracket, and that's terrific for the league.
Yeah, and it's huge for the last game that we actually have today on our air. It's the Grizzlies, and they're taking on the Warriors. Who do you think benefits more from being locked into the 8 seed?
I believe, and I disagree with Kurt, I think the Memphis Grizzlies are going to find a way, Maria, to get that 8th spot. I think they're going to be extremely motivated to do it, and you just showed a contrast of their styles. And their offenses perform dramatically different. When you have Steph Curry, it's unlimited range. When you have John Morant and Valanciunas, it's like points in the paint. And Dylan Brooks is one of my favorite irrational confidence guys. He's led the league, you ready for this, in fouls the last 2 years. So he don't mind mixing it up with the opponent. I just think they're going to be really motivated, and Jaren Jackson is returning. I believe Memphis gets in the playoffs.
And they've won 5 straight games, so they're feeling good. But you had something to report too, Woj. It concerns the Eastern Conference standings.
Yeah, I'm told Bradley Beal is going to play against Charlotte today. The Wizards need to win to get the 8th seed, move up ahead of Charlotte. And also Bradley Beal in that race with Steph Curry for the scoring title. He's going to have to do a lot of scoring today to win that title. He's 0.04 points behind Curry going into the day, but Beal's been out with that hamstring injury. It'll be interesting to see how many minutes he plays, how hard he pushes today. But I'm told, hey, Brad knows his body the best, and I think they're going to leave a lot up to him today versus Charlotte.
Okay, and our mathematicians, they've done the math, and Brad Beal would have to score 22 points more than Steph in order to win the scoring title, but he plays before Steph. So obviously Steph is going to know exactly how many he has to score, too.
There's been a couple of classic cases of somebody losing the scoring title at the end
last
of the year. David Robinson overtaking Shaquille O'Neal, and my legend, the Iceman, George Gervin, over David Thompson. He scored 70, Maria.
Wow.
70.
If that's not a
get the
team
scoring
for
title.
the second game of our doubleheader, I don't know what is. You better tune in to the Warriors taking on the Grizzlies. First, we'll have the Celtics taking on the Knicks. And later on NBA Countdown, we're going to have the plays of the
Let's go on the court, Hannah.
All right. Western Conference. The Jazz can clinch the #1 seed with a win. But if they lose and the Suns win, Phoenix will get that top spot, thanks to a tiebreaker. The Grizzlies, the Warriors play at 3:30 today. Winner gets the 8th seed and an easier path through the play-in tournament. The loser gets the 9th seed and will host the San Antonio Spurs. And the Lakers, they need some help if they want to stay out of the play-in. First of all, they need to beat the Pelicans today, and then they need a Blazers loss to the Nuggets. That is unlikely to sneak into the top 6. So, Jay, back with you. Winner take all between the Warriors and the Grizz today. If by all you mean the #8 spot, meaning they would only need to win one play-in game to make the playoffs. So who do you like in that matchup today?
Hannah, when this gets sorted out, I'm going to say something that's blasphemous. That the Golden State Warriors will be watching the playoffs as the Memphis Grizzlies get the final spot. That's actually what I believe. And let's make sure we celebrate the greatness that is Steph Curry. He had a record-setting season, making 10-plus threes so many times, shattering every three-point record. Shout to Jordan Poole, who's played well since Steph has been out. Draymond Green has been a menace on defense and flirting with triple-doubles all season. But I'm going with the young guns. You know why? Because they're going to be enthusiastic about this opportunity. It's one thing for the Golden State Warriors to get into the playoffs. It's another thing for the Memphis Grizzlies with John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Valanciunas has had a terrific year, along with Dylan Brooks. I'm taking the Memphis Grizzlies to get the final spot.
And you're taking them on the road today. So very bold pick. I love it. Jay?
Absolutely. I don't have a home phone number. I live on the road, like Jada.
Hey, Jalen, there are only 2 teams in the East already who know their playoff seeding. The biggest matchup might be Hornets and Wizards. Both are in the play-in. But the winner gets the 8th seed. The loser could fall as far as 10. It is Knicks and Celtics, 1 Eastern on ESPN. Boston has a 7th seed and a play-in berth all sewn up. But the Knicks can hold on to the 4th seed with a win. Boston resting Jason Tatum and many other players. Now, if the Knicks lose, the Hawks could take advantage. Atlanta currently 5th, but faces the Rockets tonight with a chance at home court in its first playoff series. So, Jalen, who's a surprise team in the East that you like to possibly go deep into the playoffs?
The answer to that question is the Miami Heat. But I want to make sure that I acknowledge the greatness that is the Atlanta Hawks in the East this year. And an East Coast bias. Because the Hawks are on their second coach, and they have a better record than the Knicks. I just want to make sure I say that for everybody. With that being said, the Miami Heat, the defending Eastern Conference champion, Bam is healthy, Jimmy's healthy, If Oladipo was healthy, I would pick them to actually win the East. And I know the Nets are in the East. But with that being said, the Miami Heat, Duncan Robinson is a sniper. Tyler Hero is back playing aggressive and knocking down his shots. And Goran Dragic is giving them quality minutes. And if I had to pick a fantasy basketball coach, because I know Coach Papa's in the league, so I want to pay homage to the legend. But next guy in line, Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra. So I'm going with the Miami Heat.